Hi guys, it's Kelly here and I'm back with another video. Long time no see. It's been that kind of week. So today we're going to be working with some products from Picket Fence. This is the Secret Garden, the A2 and then the Slim line. And I'm also using some sentiment sets. This is the, I think it's Fancy Sentiments and Swanky Friendship Sentiments. And then the Grassy Hill Scene dies, which if you're not familiar with Picket Fence, they do have a lot of scene builder dies, which are great. But so I kind of wanted to do a night and day look for these. I super loved the little window die here. Like, I just thought it was so great to build a scene. And so since there are two of them, I just figured instead of doing two card with the same product, I would just use the Slim line for one and the A2 for the other. It seemed to make sense to me. So we're doing a day look and a night look, depending upon which, and I'm just going to grab them because sometimes it's easier for me to talk about cards when I'm looking at the final product. You know what I'm saying? Anybody else have that problem when they do voiceovers? Anyway, so I'm using my regular Nina 80-pound solar white cardstock, and I am going to cut 3 of each of these to build my little scenes up. In addition to that, I am going to cut 2 of these little grassy hills to fill in. So these are, I think they're beautiful even just with white cardstock, kind of how you can build them up. And so heading into it, I knew that I wanted to do my top layer, which is like more of my focal point, a middle layer, which would be either a shadow or a highlight, and then the bottom layer, I wanted to flip the die upside down. So that way I would have another layer of branches every time. So that there's 3 layers here, and I'm just going to grab a piece of darker colored cardstock just so you can see. So even in white, I think it's beautiful. It looks like those like laser cut papers, and but I'm going to add lots of color to them to do some scenes, really just simple scenes, because I like to do a lot of stamped scenes, but sometimes that involves a lot of stamping and masking, and it can be a lot for people. This is less a lot. What? Anyway, so I am using my Picket Fence paper pouncers for this, but you certainly can use ink blending. You could use colored cardstock. I just like to add lots of shading and kind of layers to my scenes, but you do whatever works for you. This will be, even if you just chose, especially for like the night one, even if you just chose 3 different colors of cardstock, it would be super pretty even with just the die cut, because it's just a pretty die cut. So anywho, lots of paper pouncing. And for this first one, we're kind of going to go regular speed, but then we're going to start to speed it up a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Like, we don't have all day to be here to watch me paper pounce. And besides, we're heading into the weekend. I hope that you have wonderful plans. Here, the weather is meh. So I don't really know what we're going to be doing. It's kind of like a rainy day. Yesterday, my game plan was to take Peanut to get his haircut and then to take him to GameStop because he's been asking and he's been very patient. But unfortunately, yesterday, just as I was getting ready to leave, Caitlin got sick again. And so there was baths and cleanups and changes of clothes and all of that. And so he was really, really good about it. He could have been, you know, disappointed and you know, kind of nasty about the fact that his sister was sick and that was then preventing him from doing the things that he wanted to do, but he wasn't. He was extremely gracious about it. He did, in fact, I don't at any point think he even said to me, like, does this mean we're not going to go do my things? I think he already understood that his sister just needed more care than he did at that point. And so I definitely wanted to get him out there to do his things today, to the best of my ability. So that's the game plan. Here's hoping. So here I started off with some yellow and then moved into some lighter greens. I'm going to start moving into some darker greens. This is like a mid. This is a mowed lawn. And I'm sure you probably have seen other videos with the pouncers, or, you know, maybe you saw my previous video with the pouncers. And so you have to kind of make a choice if you want them to be, dye ink or pigment ink, because you can't mix them. And it's the same with brushes. It's the same with like the Ranger blending tool. And so because I use the dyes, because I like bold colors so much more than like my oxides, for me it wasn't really a choice. I was going with the dyes. But I will probably pick up another pack of them to use for my oxides. But there's kind of a hard time finding them in stock right now, honestly. So I'm going to link to a couple of different places in case you're looking for them. If you can't find them on the Picket Fence website, which you guys know, I mean, everybody is in a different financial situation, but if you can swing it, I always recommend that you order from the company directly. That's the most beneficial to the companies that we love. But if that's not an option for you, either financially or just because they don't have them in stock, then of course, there's other stores that carry them as well. So here, kind of keeping it lighter in the center, making it a little bit darker out towards the edges. Now, one of the things that, like, looking at this image this is all branches. There are no leaves. It's all branches. So for the night scene, not really a big deal, honestly. For the day scene, I was like, I have got to get some leaves in here for this to make sense. So I decided that I was going to do my scene. I was going to add a little bit of brown to the tree trunks, and because like brown and green, they work well together. They're, you can just put one right on top of the other. And then I'm going to pounce myself a little path here to really kind of create that scene. It looks weird now, but like hang tight. It's not going to look weird forever. The other thing that I did is along the top and the sides, I added some blue for like how you would be able to see the sky through the leaves. Like I have to have some blue in there, and that blue matches the cardstock that I'm actually going to use as my base that you'll be able to see through all of the branches and the die cuts. So I'm just going to pounce that on, and then I am gonna add some Copic coloring. I know, but nobody's surprised by this. You come to my channel 9 times out of 10, you're gonna get a Copic or some sort of alcohol marker because that's my jam. So what was the other housekeeping things we needed to talk about? The stamps. Oh my gosh. The stamp set. Oh, I have to tell you what I'm doing here. So here, I wanted there to be a little bit of a shadow behind my trees. And so just to give it like a little bit more dimension. And so what I'm doing is I'm going in with a darker green and a darker brown, and I am going to adhere this piece offset from the first piece that we did. And it's just going to create a little bit of a shadow, so that it does look a little bit more dimensional. On the night scene, that piece is actually going to remain white because it's going to act as our backlighting, like it's going to act as our highlight. So you can do it either way. You can do it as a shadow or you can do it as a highlight, but it's just a really good way to kind of get more out of the dye that you have already spent your money on. So anywho, here I'm just lining them up so you can kind of see what I'm talking about with that little shadow, and you can have as much or as little showing as you want. So we'll have that little shadow behind, and then the grass, I was good with that. And then this is the one that's turned over the opposite way, and I'm just going to color it pretty much the same colors that I did the first layer. You could do them lighter, that's what I did with the night scene, or you could do them darker. Neither way would be wrong. I was just trying to get some more branches in my sky. That's all I was trying to do there, is just fill that in a little bit. The stamp set, you guys are so fantastic. Every single one of you. I mean, I just appreciate you so much. You left so many kind comments, and even though I haven't been hearting them yet, it's because I haven't had time to sit down to respond to them. And so if I heart them before I respond to them, then they're kind of like lost in the YouTube really only wants to show me comments that I haven't already responded to. And so I can't heart them until I have time to sit down and respond to them. But thank you so much for all of your kind words and well wishes and congratulations. And you guys, I so appreciate you. The stamp set is sold out. Can you even believe that? Can you even believe it? It's sold out when just over 24 hours, which blows my mind. Absolutely blows my mind. So like I'm just shocked at that. Like I hoped would be well received, but I was not prepared to just completely sell it out. So amazing. Let's talk about what I'm doing here because it is sped up. It's sped up because it's not really the focal point of the card, and you guys have seen me do grasses on cards probably 556 times. How many do you think? Let's take a stab at it. It'll be like guessing the amount of candies in a jar. Will you win anything? No. I'm sorry. I have nothing to win you, but I mean, it's a lot. So anywho, I'm doing the grasses, and then I'm going to put in just a little bit of shading into kind of like the stone, like some stone into the pathway, as well as onto the trees just a little bit, just to kind of differentiate between that brown. And then I will blend that back into my grasses. And then from there, I'm going to add some leaves, because right now it looks a little strange. Let's just be honest. We can be real with each other. So the top portion looks a little bit strange because that green doesn't really blend into the blue as well as it could. And so it just kind of abruptly stops. It has like this green halo. And so in order to make this look more scene-like and a little bit fuller, I'm going to go in and I'm going to put leaves in. To do the leaves, I am not going to do anything super special. I'm just going to take the tip of my marker because it's already shaped leaf-like. And I'm just going to lay it down in all kinds of different directions. All cattywampus, do whatever you want with it. There's no right or wrong way to do it. And I'm going to do this with all three, the YG03, the YG17, and the YG67. And I'm going to do that until I am happy with how full it is. So as much or as little as you like, and you just stop whenever you're happy. I'm going to keep going. You know I'm going to keep going because I want it to be super full. So now, back to the stamp set. So it did sell out. Crazy. Wild. Several of you who were international reached out to me and was like, the shipping is just too much to purchase it from the rabbit hole directly. And I totally understand that. And so I did talk to Marianne, who is the owner of the Rabbit Hole Designs. And she has decided that she is going to go ahead and wholesale it, which means it will be available at Simon Says Stamp in, I believe it's the first week of May. They should have it. So if you were like, I wanted to purchase it, but I'm overseas, that will be an option for you. Also, the Rabbit Hole Designs will also have it back in stock next week. So if you were like, oh man, I missed it, no fear, it will be back. This is not like a, short time thing. It's a set that she is going to carry until she would normally retire a set. So don't panic. You didn't miss it. It will be there. You will be able to get it. So now for the night scene, we're doing the grasses a little bit different. So the highlight will be, I'm going to be honest with you, by the time this is all said and done, there's no shading on this grass. And that wasn't how I meant for it to be. That's just kind of how it ended up. By the time the card is complete, it's dark green grass, but there is no shading. It just didn't work out that way because I thought it was too light. And so I added more darker color to it. And then it just kind of reversed any of the shading I was hoping for. Let's talk about how we're adding in the blues because this is all sped up wild like. So I'm going to do a little moon in the part that's open, the tree portion that's open. And that's going to be my light source, which means the trees are going to have a highlight that is underneath them, but closer to the moon will also be the lightest color. So I'm starting with my lightest color in the center, and then I'm adding my darker, I have to add my lightest color all over so that everything matches. That's what you see me doing here. But then I'm going to start working out to my darkest color toward the edges. So keeping the lightest edges closest to the moon, the darkest edges further, like on the furthest edges of the card, will be black. And then I'm going to do a background that is the same exact way. Lightest colors closest to the moon, and it gets darker as that kind of pulls away. Just so I guess that makes sense to you in the way that I'm applying it, if you should so decide that you want to make something similar. So anyway, that'll be back in stock. Don't fret if you missed out on it. It will be back. And I just, again, would like to say thank you so much for your support. Several of you said, I hope it's not your only one. And I can tell you that hopefully it will not be. I have had conversations with other, stamp companies, with Marianne herself, about other illustrations. And so hopefully we'll just keep on keeping on here. And honestly, as many stamp companies as I possibly can help, by working with them, by promoting their product, by illustrating for them, like, I am here for it. Because you guys know I love small businesses. I love supporting small businesses. This industry has a lot of small businesses, a lot of family-owned small businesses, and I want to make sure that they're going to be around for a long, long time to keep bringing us new, innovative things, and things that we love to play with and work with. And so whatever I can do to help them, I'm here for it. So anyway, we've been having a lot of story time, haven't we? Isn't that all story time in a way? I think it is. So here, this is the one that's flipped back around. And this one I actually chose to just do really the lightest color. You could do it the darkest as well, and that would make sense. But I was just trying to get some sort of contrast, going on. So here, this is on white, and I think it looks amazing on white. But I am going to do that blended background. And here is where I decided my grass was too light, so I went in with the two blues to just kind of darken them up a bit. And it was too much. It was too much. It's okay. Lesson learned. Next time I'll know. Don't go quite so dark. You'll miss your shading. I probably could have reshaded it with black, and that would have been good, but I didn't. So here what I'm doing is I'm filling in my moon, and then you have to wait until the moon is completely dry because we're using a gel pen. I'm going to go back in with the gel pen and go over the moon so it's a bright white, but I just needed it to be a jumping off point for me for how to start my shading. And I did end up going in and heat setting it just to make sure I was sure it was dry. And then I'm going to cover the whole thing in this Salty Ocean Distress ink so that everything is the same and it's all matchy, even though you're not going to see all of it. It's too difficult to determine what portion of the card you're going to see when you're looking at it through a die cut. It's just easier, I think, to just do the whole thing. So now once I know where my moon is, now I can start adding in my color as I'm going around it. You can see when we're covering this huge area with the pouncers that you have a lot of circles. That is because, one, we're covering such a huge area, but two, I need to re-ink these ink pads so bad, y'all. I do. Some of them I have re-inkers for, and I'm just being lazy, and other ones I never bought the re-inkers for, and so I need to. How on God's green earth do I not own a re-inker for every single blue that I own? I do not know the answer to that. But anywho, so here we're going to go all the way out to black again. I did it 2 times the same way that I usually do it when I'm ink blending, lightest to darkest, darkest to lightest. So I just pounced it, lightest to darkest, darkest to lightest. And now we're going to create the stars. So because I'm using Distress ink and it's reactive with water, I just did clean water for the lightest stars. Now I'm going in with my perfect pearls for my shimmery stars. And then for the bright white stars, I'm going in with a little bit of watered down acrylic paint and spattering that onto the background. Beautiful little galaxy we've got going on here, and that's going to be my background. In addition to that, I'm using, I can't remember the name of the butterfly. I'll link it. But so it has these tiny butterflies in it. And so I thought maybe I would use the tiny butterflies in black on the night scene. I didn't end up using it. But the colored ones, which is carved pumpkin, picked raspberry, and mustard seed, I did use on the day one. Also, this background piece is peacock cardstock from Hero Arts. And that matched the blue the best. And so that's how I picked it. So I didn't have to pounce myself a whole blue background. Do I have some regrets about that? Honestly, yeah, I do. Because it's weird to me to have a solid colored background when I'm so used to creating my own backgrounds with Distress ink. It looks less like a Kelly card to me. You tell me if that's true. Like when you look at it, does the day card look less like a Kelly card to you than the night card? I would be very interested to know, because I love that. You guys know I love a lot of color variation. I love the dimension, and using a flat cardstock is with nothing added to it is challenging to get. There is no dimension. It's all one color. So anyway, I'm starting with the one that is turned backward. That is my base layer. If I can get this lined up where my grasses should be located. Honestly, I didn't even need to stress about it that much because my sentiment covers up that portion anyway. But I didn't know. And then these two I've already glued together. This is the shadow and the front portion with all of the coloring, and then that will go right over top of it as well. And then I'll just add in my cute little colored butterflies on top of it, just to, make it more, what am I going to say? Make it more of a day scene. Make it more of a, pretty little secret garden that has all these cute butterflies. In the future, they have flowers that are also included, flower dyes that are also included in the Secret Garden die set. And in the future, I would maybe like to use the flowers to bring in even more color. I think the flowers with the butterflies would be super cute. But this time around, I didn't, because I was just... I had a lot going on with everything we were doing. So I trimmed off that little grassy hill. I'm going to put on my butterflies, and then we're going to switch over to putting together the night scene. Which this one is, I know you're not supposed to pick favorites, but the night scene is my favorite. Is it because it's blue? Maybe. I don't know. I'm partial to it. You tell me which one's your favorite. So yeah, just a lot. There's been a lot going on with the kiddos and different things and the traveling. And I still have so many stories to tell you. I haven't even told you all the stories from Creativation. And that was at the beginning of the month. Now add in, I've been to Create, and I have more stories. And my life just keeps happening, and I haven't gotten to story time. I'm going to have to start writing them down. Maybe okay, I'm going to date myself right now. So when I was in school, I got a certificate in administrative office associates. Okay. It was like a trade that you could take, and I took it for typing and all kinds of accounting and shorthand and all kinds of stuff. Totally dating myself. But one of the things that we had to learn was dictaphone. And so, basically we had to listen to somebody speak and type out. That's why the shorthand was so important, because you had to type as fast as somebody was talking, which I guess served me well in becoming a dispatcher, because I'm typing as people are talking. But anyway, why was I bringing this up? Does anybody know? Oh, I was going to say, I have to start keeping a verbal record of all of my stories so that I don't forget them before I have time to tell them all, and one of them gets lost. So I need to take some notes. I need a little personal recorder and that I can talk into to remind myself of the stories so I don't forget them. So here we've put down the lightest one, which is the image reversed. And now here we're going to adhere the ink blended kind of cover front over the white. And that white, like I said, is going to act like a highlight that's catching the light of the moon. And so I adhered it just slightly above the other one. So the highlight is below which is where the moon is coming from, so that makes sense. And then I'm just going to trim off that little bit of white at the bottom, and then I'll just put everything together. This is also me being lazy. Do you see how hard I'm struggling with this honeybee glue? It's because I use it all the time. It's almost completely out. I have another bottle that I need to open, but I am cheap, and so I will not open it until all of the glue is gone out of this. It is currently being stored on my desk upside down because I will get all of the glue out of that out of that bottle. Don't judge me. And so here we're just adhering this down. And then for the most part, the cards are done. We just need to do their sentiments. And so for the sentiments, I chose to, I'm just going to show you both of them in their entirety. And then I did go in for the one in the background, like that lighter colored one. I went in with my white gel pen and just added in some highlights with the gel pen because it is right next to the moon. So it would make sense that they would also have some highlights. So I went in and added those. And then I'm going to add some shimmer where the highlights were. I'm going to add some shimmer with a clear glitter pen. And then I also added some actual glitter with the what are they? Stickles. I added them to some stars in the sky on the night one, and I added them to the butterflies on the day card. So what were we talking about? Does anybody know? I was telling you something, and then I got sidetracked with actually telling you about the card. Isn't that interesting? Yeah, so we were talking about this. Oh, the sentiments. That's what we were talking about. So we were talking about the actual card. Good for me. So for the sentiments, I decided that I was going to do a white on white embossing. So that way I could kind of pounce them to match my scene. I wanted you to read the sentiment, obviously, and I think I picked two really cute ones. The night one says, "Make today happy." And the day one says, "Thank you for helping me find a new path in life." Like, it's got the little path in there. Come on. It's adorable. It's very cute. But I wanted to be able to read the sentiment, which is why I did the white embossing. And, but I could not, because it's a die cut, like I couldn't just stamp it down and emboss it onto my actual card. I needed something that I could die cut and pop up. And these thankfully have die cuts. So for the day one, I just laid it over top of my path and then pounced down 1 or 2 times. I'm sorry for what my camera is doing here. I don't know what it's doing. But I pounced that down just so I could see where my brown needed to be. And then I'm going to pounce the rest in green. And then for the blue, I did the same thing that I did with the background. I did the lighter blue in the center and then out to black on the sides. And then this is it. These are both cards. So I hope that you're inspired to give this a try. If maybe you have something similar or you're in the market for something like this, you know, you can scene build with your dies. You don't have to just do it with stamps, especially if masking and fussy cutting is challenging for you. There are other ways to do it. So thank you guys so much for joining me. I appreciate you. I will have more videos coming this weekend, so stay tuned and I will catch you on the next one. Bye.